that isn't meant for you. All right, Pisces, let's get into your reading. So, the message that I have for you today is this, and it came through with tremendous force. A person lost you, and the absence of you is dismantling them from the inside out completely. They are not handling this gracefully, and the obsession they feel has wrapped itself around every waking thought. It is consuming them in ways they did not anticipate, and they cannot find relief anywhere. The idea of you being gone, of that door closing, has triggered something primal and uncontrollable within them. They are not just missing you casually, and what they experience goes far beyond ordinary longing or regret. This is visceral, this is constant, and the weight of your absence is crushing them in real time. Let us go ahead and get into it, because the cards are laying this out with brutal honesty. The first card we have for you is the Emperor, and this one frames the entire dynamic immediately. The Emperor represents authority, structure, and absolute control, and it arrived here in a reversed position for them. When the Emperor falls reversed, it signals a complete collapse of composure and internal order within a person. This person once believed they had power over the situation, and losing you shattered that illusion permanently. They built their identity around having you close, and now that foundation has crumbled beneath their feet entirely. The reversed Emperor confirms they are spiraling, unable to regain the grip they once held so confidently. Control was their armor, and without you, they have discovered they possess nothing solid underneath that exterior. Every routine they maintained has fractured, and the discipline they once prided themselves on no longer serves them. The Emperor reversed also reveals wounded pride, the kind that festers silently when no one is watching closely. They cannot accept that you walked away, because in their mind, you were the one constant they had. Losing that anchor destabilized everything they constructed, and this card confirms the internal wreckage is severe and ongoing. Their sense of self has been rattled at the core, and the Emperor reversed makes that devastation undeniable. The next card arriving is the Five of Cups, and this deepens the portrait of their emotional reality. The Five of Cups represents grief, mourning, and fixation on what has been lost, rather than what remains. They stand surrounded by spilled cups, staring at what fell apart, completely blind to anything else around them. Their grief is not quiet or dignified, and the Five of Cups reveals an almost theatrical despair. They replay the ending obsessively, rewinding conversations, dissecting moments, searching for the exact fracture point that broke this. What haunts them most is the realization that they contributed to this loss through their own blindness. The Five of Cups confirms they carry guilt alongside grief, and that combination is devouring them from within. They mourn you the way a person mourns something irreplaceable, because that is what you became. No substitute exists, no distraction lasts, and the Five of Cups shows them returning to that devastation nightly. The cups that remain standing behind them represent possibility, but they refuse to turn around and see them. Their fixation on the loss has become its own prison, and this card confirms they remain locked within. Then we have the Tower, and this confirms that your departure triggered a complete structural collapse within them. The Tower represents sudden upheaval, destruction of false foundations, and the violent dismantling of built illusion. Your exit was their tower moment, and the impact struck with a force they never saw approaching. Everything they assumed about the future, every plan that included you, came crashing down in a single breath. The tower confirms this was not gradual deterioration. It was an instant and catastrophic shift in their world. They are still standing in the rubble, and the tower shows me they have not begun rebuilding yet. The wreckage surrounds them on every side, and each broken piece carries your fingerprint upon it. The shock has not fully subsided, and the aftershocks of losing you continue rippling through their existence. All three cards together paint a portrait of absolute obsession, rooted in devastating loss and shattered identity. The Emperor reversed, the Five of Cups, and the Tower confirm. Your absence is rewriting who they are. This message came through with undeniable clarity, and the cards leave zero room for doubt. Okay, I want to turn the focus toward you now, and what has been living inside your body. You have been carrying something dense, and it rests in places you never let anyone reach. A numbness crept into your chest weeks ago, and you have been running on autopilot ever since then. The days blur together, the routines repeat, but underneath, a raw ache refuses to grant you any peace. You taught yourself to keep functioning, and that discipline carried you further than most could have managed. The cost of that composure is steep, though, and your body absorbs what your mind will not confront. Certain nights, the stillness corners you, and in those unguarded moments, everything you suppressed floods back at once. Let us see what the cards reveal, because they mirror your internal landscape with brutal and striking clarity. The first card I have for you is the Page of Cups, and it speaks to your truth. The Page of Cups reflects a tender part of you, one that still believes in connection despite everything. Underneath the armor you constructed, a softness persists, something you tried to bury but could never extinguish. Your capacity to feel remains intact, and this card confirms that even though you wished it would stop, you wanted numbness to settle permanently, you craved detachment, but your heart refused to let that happen. The Page of Cups confirms your emotional core stayed open, and that openness costs you dearly each day. You did not choose to remain this receptive, and yet something inside you insists on keeping it alive. Memories ambush you without warning, and a familiar scent or phrase drags you back into moments already gone. That sensitivity is not a flaw, and this card honors the courage it takes to keep feeling. The Page of Cups also uncovers a longing you have not voiced, not even to yourself in private. Part of you still holds a dim candle burning, and the flame wavers but has never gone dark. You insist you have moved past it, but this card knows the gap between moving on and through. What the Page of Cups carries is uncomfortable because it confirms you remain invested beneath all that composure. The next card arriving is the Three of Swords, and this cuts into the wound you still nurse. The Three of Swords represents heartbreak that has not fully mended, confirming the sting is still active inside. You managed around the wound rather than through it, and this card exposes that avoidance with sharp precision. The fracture you survived left a permanent mark, one that altered how you approach trust and vulnerability. You raised new walls after that collapse, and those barriers serve you, but they also isolate you deeply. The Three of Swords confirms your grief is layered, holding fury and sorrow in dangerously equal proportion. You stopped crying about it long ago, but absent tears do not signal the absence of real pain. It means you rerouted that anguish into silence, and the silence has grown louder than you ever expected. Certain words still trigger a physical contraction in you, a tightening across your ribs you cannot override. Your body catalogs what your mind attempted to archive, and the Three of Swords validates that stored tension. The healing you performed was surface level, and this card insists the deeper layers remain untouched and raw. Then we have Strength, and this card reflects what lives at the very foundation of who you are. Strength is not about force or dominance, and this card confirms your power comes from restraint and endurance. You held yourself together through ordeals that would have collapsed most, and that composure defines your character. The lion within you is not tame, it is disciplined, and strength confirms you chose control over destruction. You could have burned every bridge behind you, but instead you swallowed the fire and kept walking forward. Strength also reveals your patience has a limit, and you are closer to that boundary than you realize. The reserves you draw from are not bottomless, and this card gently warns that replenishment is overdue. You have poured out for so long without receiving, and strength acknowledges that imbalance with firm concern. Every card drawn confirms you carry immense emotional weight, masked behind remarkable composure and invisible sacrifice daily. The Page of Cups honored your persistent softness. The Three of Swords named the wound you still nurse. Strength validated the discipline holding you upright, and together, these cards declare you deserve rest from this burden. Now I want to cross over into what is happening inside this person and what they cannot escape. They are trapped in a mental loop, one that plays your memory on repeat without any off switch. Every corridor of their mind leads back to you, and no detour they tried has led anywhere else. They attempted distraction, they attempted denial, and each strategy collapsed the moment your face resurfaced in their thoughts. What they feel is not standard regret. It is an all-consuming fixation that has hijacked their nervous system. Their waking hours revolve around replaying what went wrong, and their sleeping hours offer no reprieve whatsoever. The torment is relentless, and the intensity of it has fundamentally altered how they move through ordinary existence. Come in close, because the cards are peeling back the layers of their psychological state with unforgiving precision. The first card for their side is the Two of Swords, and this captures their paralysis immediately. The Two of Swords represents a mind divided, a figure blindfolded by their own refusal to face truth. They know what happened, they understand the consequences, but they cannot bring themselves to fully accept the outcome. A war rages between what they want to believe and what reality has already confirmed beyond dispute. They keep searching for alternate endings, constructing scenarios where this did not unfold the way it actually did. The Two of Swords confirms they sit frozen at a crossroads, unable to choose between surrender and pursuit. Their indecision is not passive, it is agonizing, and the strain of holding both truths tears them apart. One half screams to chase you, and the other whispers that they forfeited that right through their actions. The blindfold on the Two of Swords represents willful avoidance, a refusal to face the mirror staring back. They refuse to examine their own role honestly, because doing so would require admitting fault they cannot stomach. That internal battle defines their every waking moment, and the Two of Swords shows no resolution approaching soon. They oscillate between confidence and collapse, and that pendulum swings harder with each day that passes without you. The next card is the King of Wands reversed, and this exposes a darker layer lurking within them. The King of Wands reversed represents ego stripped of its throne, charisma that has curdled into desperation overnight. They once carried themselves with certainty and presence, but losing you dismantled the persona they built around power. What the reversed king reveals is a person whose confidence was built entirely upon external validation from you. Without your attention or admiration, the version of themselves they projected has no foundation left to stand on. The King of Wands reversed confirms their obsession is tangled with identity crisis at a deeply uncomfortable level. They do not just miss your presence, they miss who they believed they were beside you. The reversed king reveals flashes of volatile emotion, anger that erupts because grief has no other exit point. They swing between desperate longing and bitter resentment, and neither lasts long enough to grant them clarity. What festers inside them is a toxic blend of wounded pride, raw heartache, and possessive attachment to you. The King of Wands reversed makes it clear. Their internal world has become hostile territory they cannot navigate. Then we have the Devil, and this card drags the most uncomfortable confession out of the shadows entirely. The Devil represents obsessive attachment, chains worn voluntarily, and the inability to release what no longer serves growth. They are bound to the idea of you, and this card confirms that attachment crossed into compulsive territory. The Devil reveals they fantasize about reclaiming you, not from love alone, but from inability to accept defeat. Possession drives them as much as affection does, and that duality creates a suffocating spiral they cannot escape. Their thoughts about you carry heat, intensity, and an almost addictive quality that frightens even them at times. The Devil confirms they recognize the obsession is unhealthy, but that awareness does nothing to weaken its grip. They are chained to your memory willingly, and this card shows they have not attempted removing them. Part of them finds comfort inside that obsession, because releasing it would mean confronting the emptiness beneath.
So, what I want to shift into now is the action, what this person is preparing to do. They have reached a breaking point, and sitting with the loss is no longer sustainable for them. The stillness that held them in place has fractured, and a decision is forming rapidly inside their mind. They are assembling a plan, and the moves they intend to make will be direct and unavoidable. This is no longer theoretical, and the transition from internal agony to external motion has already begun. What was once paralysis is converting into calculated steps, and those steps are aimed squarely at reaching you. A threshold has been crossed, and the version of them that stayed frozen is being replaced by resolve. Let us go deeper, because the cards confirm that real and tangible movement is locked into their timeline. The first card here is the Six of Wands, and this signals a bold, public approach heading forward. The Six of Wands represents triumph, recognition, and the refusal to stay defeated in any visible capacity. They are preparing to show up boldly in a manner that demands attention without leaving room for dismissal. This card confirms they have decided to lead with confidence, even if that confidence is partially manufactured. They are choosing to project strength rather than collapse, and that decision reshapes how they will approach you. The Six of Wands tells me their re-entry will not be quiet, subtle, or easy to overlook. They want to be seen, and this card confirms they are engineering a moment designed to command attention. The approach will carry conviction behind it, and the Six of Wands shows them arriving with visible determination. Expect communication that feels intentional, words that have been selected with precision rather than thrown together carelessly. They are not stumbling toward you with desperation on display, and this card confirms a strategic entrance instead. The Six of Wands also suggests they may reach through mutual connections, using shared circles as a bridge. They are willing to leverage every available channel, and subtlety has been abandoned in favor of bold visibility. The next card arriving is Justice, and this adds a completely different dimension to their approaching behavior. Justice represents accountability, truth-telling, and the willingness to stand before consequences without attempting to dodge them anymore. They are preparing to own what they did, and this card confirms an admission of fault is forming. This is not a casual apology forming. It is a structured acknowledgement of exactly where they went wrong. Justice tells me they have cataloged their mistakes, and the confession they bring will be specific and detailed. They intend to lay every misstep on the table because they understand vagueness will not earn your trust. The scales of justice demand equilibrium, and this person recognizes that balance can only be restored through honesty. They are assembling their case with the gravity of a final appeal, knowing this is their last chance. Justice also signals willingness to accept whatever verdict you deliver after hearing their full and honest account. They are not coming to manipulate, and this card confirms they are prepared to honor your decision completely. The combination of bold visibility and genuine accountability defines how they intend to re-enter your orbit. They want to arrive with proof of change, not promises, and justice confirms that distinction drives every step. Then we have the Ace of Swords, and this card sharpens the entire trajectory of their coming approach. The Ace of Swords represents a breakthrough in clarity, a decisive moment where confusion finally gives way. They have cut through their own fog, and what remains is razor sharp intention to reach you with truth. This card confirms they will lead with transparency, offering words stripped of pretense and delivered without any filter. The Ace of Swords does not permit half truths, and what they bring will be raw and unedited. A new perspective has crystallized within them, and this card shows them acting from that fresh vantage point. They see the situation differently now, and the Ace of Swords confirms that shifted viewpoint propels their movement. Every action from this point carries the weight of finality because they recognize this window will not reopen. The urgency behind the Ace of Swords is palpable, and it confirms they are moving with total commitment. Now I want to pull back the curtain on what they will never willingly confess to anyone. This person guards secrets about you that live in the marrow of their bones, buried past reach. The confessions they swallow daily would alter your entire understanding of what this connection truly meant to them. They rehearse admissions in their head constantly, building sentences they know will never leave their mouth. What they suppress is not mild fondness, it is a consuming recognition that you were irreplaceable to them. They knew it while they had you, and that awareness makes the loss infinitely more unbearable to carry. The hardest confession is the simplest one. They understood your value and still allowed the fracture to happen. Let us go ahead and dive into this because the cards are dragging their buried truths into daylight. The first card is the Nine of Pentacles, and this unlocks a confession rooted in deep envy. The Nine of Pentacles represents self sufficiency and earned independence, and it mirrors how they perceive you now. They watch you thriving from a distance, and that image guts them in ways they cannot articulate. What they will never admit is that your strength after the separation intimidates them to their absolute core. They expected you to crumble. They anticipated your collapse, and instead you rebuilt without requiring a single thing. That reality haunts them because it confirms a devastating truth they privately wrestle with every single night. You did not need them the way they needed you, and that asymmetry is the confession buried deepest. The Nine of Pentacles confirms they covet the peace you carry, the stability you maintained despite everything lost. They secretly mourn the version of themselves that existed inside your warmth, and nothing has replaced that since. What they hide is a desperate wish to be invited back into the world you cultivated without them. The Nine of Pentacles reveals they feel unworthy of approaching that abundance, knowing they contributed to the damage. Their silence is not indifference, it is shame dressed in pride, and this card strips that disguise completely. The next card arriving is the High Priestess, and this reaches into the most hidden layer of all. The High Priestess represents concealed knowledge, intuition suppressed, and truths that exist beneath the surface of speech. They know things about their feelings for you that they have never verbalized, not even to themselves. What the High Priestess reveals is that their attachment operates on a level beyond conscious thought entirely. It lives in their nervous system, in their reflexes, in how their body still responds to your name. The High Priestess confirms a spiritual bond to you, one that logic has failed to sever or explain. They sense you in rooms you never entered, and that phantom connection terrifies them more than the loss. Their secret confession is that they believe this bond is fated, something neither distance nor silence can dissolve. The High Priestess also reveals vivid dreams of reconciliation, recurring detail that shakes them awake in cold sweat. Those dreams feel prophetic rather than wishful, and they guard that belief, because voicing it would expose everything. They privately treat your memory as sacred, and the High Priestess confirms they have not desecrated that altar. No replacement has been genuinely pursued, because deep within them, they consider what you shared to be permanent. Then we have the Four of Cups, and this final card exposes the confession they protect most fiercely. The Four of Cups represents dissatisfaction with every offering that is not you, a refusal to accept substitutes. They have been presented with options and open doors, and they sit before each one completely numb. Nothing registers, nothing excites them, and the Four of Cups confirms that you ruined them for ordinary connection. They cannot feel enthusiasm for anyone else, and that emptiness is the confession they guard most fiercely. What they will never tell another soul is that every attempt to move forward felt hollow and counterfeit. They compared every face to yours, every conversation to the depth you offered, and nothing survived the comparison. The Four of Cups reveals them surrounded by possibility, while craving only the one cup that walked away. That cup was you, and the confession beneath it all is they would trade everything to hold it.
Okay, I want to bring this reading to a close and reveal what the near future holds. What approaches is not abstract, and the timeline surrounding the situation is narrowing with undeniable speed now. The near future carries a confrontation of truth, and you will be placed face to face with clarity. Whether you initiate or they arrive first, the collision between your worlds is drawing closer each day. The first card for the near future is Temperance, and this promises balance returning after prolonged turbulence. Temperance represents healing, integration, and the blending of extremes into something sustainable and grounded once again. What arrives will not be chaotic, and Temperance confirms that the resolution approaching carries measured and calm vibration. You will be given space to process, and the pace of what unfolds will honor your emotional capacity. This card promises that whatever form contact takes, it will feel different from anything that came before it. Temperance also signals divine mediation, confirming forces beyond either of you are guiding this toward peace. The next card is the World, and this confirms that a major cycle is reaching its destined completion. The World represents closure and wholeness, the final chapter of a story that demanded every lesson earned. What concludes here is not small, and the World confirms the resolution will carry permanent weight. The World promises that regardless of the outcome, you will walk away from this chapter feeling genuinely complete. Then we have the Ten of Wands, and this confirms a heavy burden is about to be released. The Ten of Wands represents weight carried too long, and it mirrors your current exhaustion directly. You have been shouldering this silently, and the Ten of Wands confirms that relief is approaching. The load you bore alone is being acknowledged, and the cards promise you will not carry it forever. Here is my advice, and I want every word of it to land exactly where it belongs. Do not brace yourself against what approaches, and do not rehearse your reactions before the moment actually arrives. Whatever unfolds deserves your presence, not your preparation. And Temperance confirms that stillness serves you better than strategy. Trust the instinct that carried you through every phase of this, because it has never failed you. You owe yourself permission to feel whatever surfaces without editing it or performing false composure. Release the need to have answers ready and allow the truth of the moment to speak for itself. Your only responsibility is to remain honest with yourself, and the cards confirm honesty is your greatest shield. Let me return to the message that opened this reading because it deserves to be heard once more. The message was, they are obsessed beyond reason, they lost you, and the thought is killing them inside. Every card across all 6 parts confirmed this, and the evidence provided is undeniable in its totality. The Emperor reversed showed their shattered control. The 5 of Cups exposed their consuming grief over what spilled. The Tower confirmed your departure leveled their entire foundation. The Page of Cups honored your enduring emotional sensitivity. The 3 of Swords named the wound you carry. Strength validated the discipline holding you upright daily. The 2 of Swords captured their paralysis. The King of Wands reversed exposed their fractured identity. The Devil revealed their voluntary chains. The 6 of Wands confirmed their bold public approach forming. Justice showed their willingness to face accountability, and the Ace of Swords sharpened their clarity into decisive action. The 9 of Pentacles exposed their envy. The High Priestess unveiled their sacred and hidden